What's up, everybody? We are back in the garage with this beast. I've got to do some winter maintenance on it, so I'm going to turn the camera around and kind of walk you through everything that needs to be done. So this beast is in need of a little winter maintenance, so I'm going to take that on and try and film most of the process so you guys can see how it's done. I need to do an oil change, and also there is a slight seep of oil coming from the shift shaft seal, which is, let me see if I can get there. It's down in here, right back in there. It's hard to, yeah, right there. It's kind of hard to see. All of this stuff needs to come out of the way to get to it, but once everything's out of the way, it's a pretty simple process from what I understand. Also need to get the belly pan off to do the oil change. Probably both sides, not quite sure, but I need to do a little repair on one of the tabs on the other side too, so I'm probably just going to take it off anyway. If I remember correctly, the mounting point on this part of the belly pan was a little wonky, and I had to attach it with a zip tie or something like that. So I'm going to take that off and repair it while I've got it apart, doing the oil change and the shift shaft seal. So let's get to it. Okay, so first things that need to happen are the belly pan needs to come off. But first I need to get this front stand out of the way because I need to access these screws, these two screws on either side to do it. So these two screws need to come out. These two, there's one here and then one back here, right there on this side. And the belly pan will come out. I think the oil filter is right back here. You can see it, see the cover in there. And then over on this side, same thing, two screws here, here and here on the front. This one's a little trickier. There's a screw that mounts under this thing, so I may have to take this panel off, which is this screw, these three, and then same thing down here. 1, 2, and then there's another one back here that comes out too. And that should be both sides of the belly pan. And we'll get that out of the way and get the work done. All right, belly pan is off. You can see the exhaust is exposed now. I still have it on the rear stand. I'll probably start draining the oil with it on the rear stand and then take it off the rear stand and put it on the side stand to fully drain the engine. But you can see here, this is, switch hands, this is the oil filter, and then there are two drain plugs, one here and one here, that also have little screen filters on them, which I'll show you after I get them out. Those just need to be cleaned off with brake cleaner. I have new ones to put in there if these ones are dirty, but my suspicion is these ones are going to be nice and clean, especially after I give them a clean with brake clean. So there it is. I got a little cardboard in there just in preparation for draining the oil. Probably move that out of the way. I know I said I was going to put the bike on the side stand, but I think I'm going to leave it on the center stand, or on the rear stand for now, while I drain the oil, and then tip it after I've got most of the oil out, just to drain the remainder, because I don't think my drain pan is going to fit underneath that exhaust. It doesn't even go under there with the rear stand on it, so I just want a little more clearance to get most of the oil out. That's why I've got the cardboard there. So I'm going to set this tripod up and see if I can get it to stay and kind of record the process here. All right, so again, this comes out, these two come out, and then the oil filter slides out of there. I'm going to drain all the oil, and then I'm going to do the shift shaft seal after all the oil is drained. All 4 of these things need to be torqued back up when they go back in. The filter cap screws get torqued at 6 nanometers, and both of the sump filter things get torqued at 20. I just kind of wrote it on here so I wouldn't forget. So here goes nothing. All right. Got the new stuff here. KTM 4T, new filters. These guys are still good. They're still very clean. So I'm gonna save those for next time. I won't have to buy them again. And just put the oil filter in with the new gasket and the new oil. So I'm gonna get this button back up and we'll come back to it in a minute. All right, I got these guys all cleaned up. They're good to go. I'm gonna pop this gasket off here. I need a screwdriver. Grab a screwdriver. slid off nice and easy. Put the new one on. I'm gonna coat it in oil just so it doesn't stick when I put it back in there. Nice and oily. Just goes back on there like that. Easy peasy. New filter. Just kind of locks into place. All right, these guys get torqued to 6, so I'm gonna do that. It's not a lot of pressure. All right, same thing with these, a little bit of oil on here. Just so they slide into place. And then these get torqued to 20 Newton meters. All right, so before I put the oil in it, I've got to take all this stuff off and try and get to that shift shaft seal and get that done. So I'm gonna move all this stuff out of the way and then start taking that apart. I'll try and film as much of that as possible. All right, so it looks to me like basically all of this stuff needs to get out of the way. So I'm just gonna start pulling it out and see what happens, I guess. All right, there it is, right there. So I just gotta pop that seal out, and then the new one kind of gets pressed in there fairly carefully. So let's see if we can make it happen. Well, that was a bit more of a pain in the butt than I expected. You know, a lot of the guys that have done it before told me it was going to be tough getting it out, and they were right. But it's out of there. So I have the new one here. That's what it looks like. Goes in this way. I'm going to use this socket to kind of tap it in there very gently. Got to make sure it goes in nice and even around. You don't want it to get like off kilter or off axis in there. It's got to go in perfectly straight. So I'm going to throw a little bit of grease on this and then tap it in there nice and easy. Hopefully it goes better. Hopefully it goes better than it did coming out. So let's see. All right, just give her a nice coat of grease. So try and get my fingers cleaned up here. And get her pressed in there. Might need to use this, we'll see. Get a little encouragement. Go real easy with that. Let's see, I'll move this over here. Get my big head out of the way. There we go. That's not what we wanted. Let's see if I can use this guy to kind of wiggle it out of there. We just gotta tap it in. Try and get a longer socket. Oh. I think she's in there. That looks pretty good. Now, just to see if she leaks after she starts up, but I gotta put all this stuff back on first and see if that happens. All right, so I got it all back together. I realized as I was putting it back together that I could rotate this guy on the mount point back there a little bit. It just kind of sits on some teeth, which allowed me to get my shifter down a little bit. It was kind of sitting up higher than I liked it. So I realized that and made the adjustment. So now it's in a good spot. Now I just have to fill it up with oil and get all the body work back on. So the oil goes in 3 liters, and then you got to warm the bike up a little bit, shut it off, and put another 600 milliliters in it. So I'm going to load the first 3 liters in, give it a start, let it run, just make sure nothing's leaking, and then throw the other 600 milliliters in.